Okay.
Hey, we're talking about Kevin Smith and Clerks 3 up next on Geek Out SA.
Do not attempt to adjust your YouTube video. We control the stream.
And welcome back to Geek Out SA. It's Friday and we're having fun. We're back.
And this is our second
This is
take.
take two.
Take two. So it's been a few weeks since we've been here, and I'm still not quite used to producing. I've produced, but just a little bit, so I'm not quite used to it. So I put new batteries in, or what I thought was new batteries in, and maybe they weren't new batteries. Anyway, we had some struggles. So we're going to try it again. But we're back. We're not sick. I'm coughing a little bit. You're doing much better.
So we're out for like 3 weeks.
Yeah.
And
we were sick. Like,
yeah, we're
really bad sick. And we went and saw Black Panther Wakanda Forever, and we totally wanted to talk to you guys about that, and we couldn't stop coughing enough to even have a show. So I took Vincent on a special date. So we thought, hey, we'll talk about this because it's pretty geeky.
So Tuesday, we went to go see Clerks 3. Well, we got to see it at the McCombs Theater, and like Kevin Smith was there doing a Q&A. So we got to see that as well. So we're going to fill you in on a little bit of what happened there.
So before, you know me, I'm a backstory kind of girl. Like, I love to tell the backstory. So before we kind of talk about seeing Kevin Smith and the Q&A and everything, I wanted to kind of give y'all a little backstory. So Vincent and I got married. We were 26 years old, and he takes me for like a little mini vacation, just him and I, down to Harlingen, Texas, which is like on the border of Texas and Mexico, and it's where his friends live. And I'm all excited to go or whatever. But I've grown up Southern Baptist with like very strict parents, and so I'm very sheltered. We've never even had cable at my house, like nothing, right? And Vince has had a totally different life experience, right? So he takes me down there to Harlingen, and he and his friends show me this horrific movie called Kids. And then they also showed me the first Clerks movie. And so I'm just like, like, I'm very traumatized by this whole thing. And they're like, oh, like, you know, Kevin Smith's shrine, and they had the little he had the little figures and everything going on. And so you know, that was my first experience with Clerks. And then we go on as through our marriage, and we see Mallrats, and we see Chasing Amy, and we see Dogma. And you know, it gets better for me as it goes along, right? But some of the other things that we've watched throughout the time is Kevin Smith has done Q&As lots of times before.
Right.
And so we've picked up, not going to lie, we picked up at Blockbuster some video versions of his Q&As after some of his movies, and we watched them. So I kind of felt like this was like a bucket list kind of thing for Vincent.
Yeah.
And so I went to go look when Clerks 3 was
the
coming
cool
out.
thing is, this time Jason Mewes didn't come. He just had a baby. But I was okay with that because I had already met Jason Mewes at Alamo City Comic Con, and he did this entire interaction with my iPad setup, my rig, and it was off. It wasn't recording when he was doing it. I was like, damn it.
Yeah, that's a shame that you missed out on all of that, because he's an interesting character.
Yeah.
So I bought Vince these tickets as an early Christmas present to go see Clerks 3, and it kind of like, you know, it's wrapping up the saga, and then to see this Q&A with Kevin Smith.
Yeah.
Hoping that Vincent can ask Kevin Smith a question, right? Because we've been watching his movies for like 20 years, so we want to throw down a question for Kevin Smith.
Now you're coughing.
Yeah, I'm sorry. I am still coughing a little bit, especially when I talk a lot. So we get to the Q&A part, And Vincent doesn't even get up to go down there because there's so many people that
No,
get
there's
up.
so many. There's no way. There's no way we were ever gonna get a question to him.
But then we find out there's even really more no way you're ever going to get a question to him unless you're basically the first person to the mic.
Yeah.
So Kevin Smith tends to be long-winded. Okay?
Yeah.
I mean, and he admits it. He totally admits it in the Q&A that he's really long-winded. And he kind of answers your question but doesn't answer it and goes off on like what, you know, is in his mind and what he's thinking about, and he goes
And then he
on and on.
re-asked you, what was your question again? Did I answer that? No.
Yeah, no, not really. No.
Kevin.
But you answered some really great questions for us, but not really the one that I thought that I was asking you. I don't know. He does like the sound of his own voice, though. Excuse me.
Yeah, Thomas, there's a bunch of folks, I'm sure. Yeah, there was a lot of people there.
Yeah, yeah.
And luckily, we'd been at that theater before. It's
Coronation.
the McCombs Theater for Coronation, but it's much more light there this time. During Coronation, it's really dark.
Yeah. Yeah, I didn't even realize the theater looked the way it looked because of what we had been through at Coronation. So we go, right? And there's all these people there, and Kevin comes out and he does an intro before the film. And he's like, "Hey, you know, I've been to these other cities, and I've been to San Antonio before, and y'all are pretty cool cats, but I don't know, these other cities, like, they really loved my movie and they really reacted to it." I felt like he was kind of baiting us, right? To get us to be noisy during the film because he's a narcissist. He's admitted he's a narcissist, right? And so he wants to hear us being in love with his film.
Right.
So I feel like he baited us. Vincent didn't feel like he was like, I thought he pretty much said, well,
You
come on,
put
San Antonio.
words into people's mouths that didn't actually come out of their mouths.
But they meant it that way. Like, he meant
You
it that
took
way.
it that way.
He meant it that way. But it affected you. It affected you. So tell everybody how that kind of impacted your experience. Because people should be prepared for this.
Well, people were trying to outdo everybody else that saw the movie, so they were going to be really loud and cheer. He kind of cued us on where to cheer for stuff.
Yeah, kind of. I would say he kind of, like, in the intro, dropped a few hints on where he was.
When you first see Dante, everybody cheers.
Right, and that was because Kevin kind of led everybody.
Yeah.
So, but if you've ever gone to the movies with Vincent, or you know anything about Vincent at the movies, Vincent wants it to be silent. You can ask our sons, you can ask our moms, like, they're not allowed to breathe. No heavy breathing that he needs to hear. Don't be falling asleep so he can hear you snoring. Do not ask a question. Do not remind anybody of what just happened. Do not speak during the
Don't
movie.
ask me for popcorn.
No. Don't, nothing.
No.
Do just be silent, right? So is it silent in this theater? Oh, no. No, it's not. So Vincent is not happy at this viewing experience. Like, he's totally happy to be getting to see Clerks 3, but he is not happy about this viewing experience with all these loud people. And you do miss some of the dialogue.
Yeah, I did miss a lot of the dialogue. You can kind of assume what the dialogue was, but I kind of want to hear it because it's a Kevin Smith movie. The whole movie is dialogue.
Right, it's all about the banter, right? That's
Yeah.
what his movies are about. It's about the banter. It's about the one-liners. You know, there's a butt line in there that he uses a few times. It's really hilarious, but you got to get the butt line, and to get that punchline in order to know what's going on. So when you're in that kind of situation, yeah, you do kind of miss out on some of the dialogue, especially when some of the previous characters that were in like other movies and stuff that he brings in, or were in other Clerks movies that he brings in, and they first coming on the scene,
Yeah.
and everybody's cheering for them, you miss some of their dialogue. I missed a lot of Emma's dialogue with Dante because people were kind of yelling when that was going on. So we did miss kind of some of the dialogue, but I mean, we've seen the first Clerks and the second Clerks many times. So I'm sure we will watch this one again once we can like get a DVD because we're old and we still or Blu-ray or whatever.
This was a good conclusion to the Clerks saga. It was a great.
This was a great conclusion. I laughed, I cried, I cheered. I was glad to get to cheer.
I feel like it was better than Clerks 2.
Yes, I mean, and I loved Clerks 2. I think I love Clerks 2 more than Clerks 1 just because Clerks 1 will always have that like kind of little seed in the pit of my stomach, you know, about, because I didn't even know when we first saw Clerks 1, I didn't even know you could talk about some of that stuff in movies. Yeah. Like the whole 37 thing, if you know what if you know, you know. So the whole 37 thing, I was like, they can talk about that in movies, like, you know. So it always kind of sat in the pit of my stomach, and as I've aged and I've changed, obviously it doesn't sit with me the same, but I saw Clerks 2 from a new lens and from a new perspective, so it was funnier, right? And Elias just kills me. That kid kills me. And so then in Clerks 3 they really wrap it up nicely, right? I was worried that maybe he was going to try to drag it out some more, just in case, because he is kind of a money hoe. But sorry, Kev. But he did such a beautiful job of wrapping it up. And we heard in the Q&A that he did such a different job of wrapping it up than he was going to before.
So this wasn't the first iteration that he had in mind for Clerks 3. What he had in mind, he told us the entire movie during his Q&A.
Yeah. So I don't know how much people want us to tell the entire movie, but we'll give you some little snippets of what he told us. So he writes from a personal place. If you watched any of his stuff, you know that he writes from a personal place. He gives you things from his personal experiences and everything. So in the original iteration of Clerks 3, he's coming from a place where the hurricane has happened in New Jersey, Sandy, and so he's kind of gone through that and seen what the city's had to go through. So that's part of his movie. Right. And then because he's a big moviegoer and he's a huge movie buff, he was really impacted by the shooting in the movie theater that happened in the Batman movie. And again, he's a big Batman guy too, right? So those two were really like interwoven into this whole story, right? And we lose both of those things in this new iteration. And the reason that we lose both of those things in this new iteration is because if you follow Kevin Smith at all and you know anything about him, he had a massive heart attack. And he really probably should have died.
Before we even get to that, let's go ahead and cue up the trailer.
I can do that. Wait, no, I can't. Wait, hold on. I know what I'm doing. I'm just kidding. I don't know what I'm doing. Ready? Here we go.
That's how we did it in the 90s, son!
Can't catch my breath, man.
Really? Should I try mouth stuff?
What is this, a Tinder date? Get off of me. Oh, shit.
Mr. Dante! I need an ambulance at the Quick Stop!
Saved my life, man. Wish I had a life worth saving.
What are you talking about?
Sit around and watch the same movies over and over.
I always thought you could have made a cool movie.
You're right. I'm living on borrowed time. No more watching movies. I'm gonna make a movie!
What's the movie gonna be about? It's about him working here. Meta.
Everything in the script is something either me or someone I know said.
I'm not even supposed to be here today. Maybe Jay and Silent Bob could be characters.
Jay and Silent Bob are like C-3PO and R2-D2. They've been here since the first movie, which was the last time they were cool. But they've been with the franchise so long, they still give them cameos and put them on the lunch boxes. Snifty Booches! Please tell me why.
I believe in you.
You should put in that stuff you used to say about the Death Star contractors.
Get sued by Disney? No way.
Now that's what I call acting!
Take off your pants!
What the hell is this?
I added a scene where you get shot.
I'm not letting you kill me off in the third act. What if there's a sequel?
A sequel? What am I, a hack?
I think it needs more weed.
Just watching that trailer again reminded me how much I liked it. I almost started crying. There's some things that really impacted me in that movie.
Well, yeah, it was really cool things because when it goes through, they show clips of what the movie that they're making is completed, and it's Clerks. Mm-hmm. It's the original Clerks, and they show the clips of it, but it's them very young. It's them from the first one, and that's what really gets to you, and how he kind of like made that, connect that way, because it really connected with me.
Well,
when I saw it.
I think it connects to you and I because, like I was saying earlier in the show, here we are, we're 26 when we're watching the first one together, and the characters are in their early 20s, in that time. And then, fast forward a little bit and we see Clerks 2 and they're in their 30s. Well, guess what? So are we, right? And we're having this existential crisis, like, what have I done with my life? Where am I going, kind of stuff. Because I think you kind of do that in your 30s. Right. And then we just had like kind of a big event around a medical condition in our lives. And then so Kevin bringing in his own experiences with his heart attack and how that could have ended his life and ended his story, and how that kind of impacts you to realize that you're kind of in that phase of your life where it's about time for your story to end, and you're not ready for that. And so I think for us it's been a special journey because we've been on the journey with him this whole time, and it's really been kind of concurrent to where we are. And so for me, I was like weeping a few times in the theater.
And it's just mostly the fact that we're at that same age. Yeah. Going through it. Because he's 52 right now, and you're 49, I'm 48.
Oh yeah, way to remind me that you're younger than I am.
Just by like 6 months.
Yeah, by 6 months. But yeah, so we've been in the same places that he's been in when he's taken us on this journey. So I think that this journey had even more meaning to us as we're watching it with him. And it's interesting because he's a really good storyteller, right? So he's telling us his story. And him and his friends, because if you've watched any of his other shows that have been on networks, or you've heard his podcast, he has this group of friends that he's done the comics shop with and everything. And so this is all, and the guys that he's done the movies with, and Jason Mewes and stuff. And so he's telling us his story, but he's also putting in that ridiculousness, that comedy, like you see in the trailer, the big blunt, and where Jason's like, it needs more weed. And you kind of feel like Mewes probably says that in real life, right? But there's some jokes, and there's, butt jokes, of course, and there's all those kinds of jokes. But they're really funny. But they're definitely in there, and so he weaves that comedy into his really good storytelling so that I think that you can kind of chunk that story a little bit, and you can kind of deal with it a little bit. Because it is kind of an intense story for him to be telling. Right. So, but I thought the movie was beautiful. I gotta say, as much as I love Dante and Randall, one of my absolute favorite characters is Elias.
He's funny. He's funny in this one too.
He is hilarious. He's so naive, and he's very much, I think I can relate to him a lot because I grew up as that kind of sheltered Christian kid. And he's in his 30s and still the sheltered Christian kid. I kind of came out of it in my 20s, and he's still doing it in his 30s. So, and then he kind of makes this switch in
Right.
the film, and I don't want to. You see it in the trailer, like by his outfits.
Well, Kevin tells us about it before we even start seeing. He's like, you're gonna see Rocky Horror Picture Show right in the middle of the movie.
Yeah, and you're like, what? I don't get it.
I was like, I don't get it. And when you watch it, you'll get it.
Well, and it's really cute because in his Q&A, he talks about how he had kind of envisioned Elias making this change. And then the actor who plays Elias comes and he's like, so could we do this thing? And then so it's a wardrobe thing.
It's all based on a cane.
Yeah, he
at
wants
the
a
end
cane
of the
at
movie.
the end of the movie. And so Kevin gets with the wardrobe person and she's like, well, you can't just show up with a cane, right? Like
It's like a skull cane.
Yeah, we have to we can't just throw it on the audience, right? It's not
The question was, how does he earn that?
Yeah, how does he earn that? They keep asking each other, well, how does he earn that? And then so they get to where he earns the cane, and then they kind of show Elias, the actor, and then he's like, but I also feel like he would have a cape. And then they're like, well, how does he earn that? And then he throws down, I think he would have some eyeliner. And so then Kevin's got to bring in makeup.
No, the King Diamond. The King
Diamond. That's right. He wanted the King Diamond makeup. Yeah. And so then Kevin's got to bring in the makeup people, and they're like, how does he earn that? But it becomes this really, really cute, integral part of his story because it shows us that he's changing, but still naively changing, right? Mm-hmm. And so he's changing in a way that his naivete takes him. And so it's a really cute kind of added storyline within the storyline if you're paying attention. So that was one of the really great things to hear Kevin talk about that as well, is because I picked up on it, but then to hear him tell us that added layer of it, you're like, oh, yes, I see it even more now. So I definitely hope he puts out this Q&A so that people see that, because that's some really cute stuff. Unless he expects people to listen to his podcast and stuff now.
Or maybe they'll put it on the Blu-ray.
Yeah, we love Blu-rays still.
Special feature. Thing.
So the other thing that Kevin talked to all of us about was movies that he's going to be doing next. So. Of all the movies that he's talked about doing next, well, I guess you should tell everybody kind of what is the overarching theme of all the movies that he's doing next.
They're all sequels.
Yeah.
Like every single one of them, he's in the age of doing sequels.
He's in the sequel ho age of his career. So of all the sequels that he's told us that he's coming out with, which one do you think that you're most looking forward to seeing?
Mallrats. Because I don't know if he's ever going to get to do the sequel for Dogma.
No, based on what he told us, that's probably not something that's going to happen. And I definitely think that Dogma is up there as one of my all-time favorites of his.
Because he's trying to get Dogma from Weinstein.
Harvey Weinstein, who's a disgusting
and he won't sell it to him.
And he won't give it back. No. Mm-mm. So that'd be great to see some more of Dogma. And that was really interesting for me to see Kevin talk about that, because I'm a fangirl, but I'm not a very good obsessive fangirl. I don't read all this stuff. I follow him on Instagram and he's pretty cool. He seems pretty cool. I like him. I've been by his house when we were in LA or whatever, but just because we knew somebody who lived over there. But I didn't know that he was brought up Catholic, and he was a devout Catholic. So I didn't know that he had this kind of parallel with me where we both grew up. And in Vincent too. Vincent grew up Seventh Day Adventist, and I was Southern Baptist and non-denominational.
Well, I
Christian
started out
later.
Catholic.
Yeah.
Though.
So to come from this place where religion was very much a part of our lives, and then to kind of grow into a place where for me, it was things that happened, and for Kevin too, he talked a little bit about, it was things that were happening in the world, and it's like you get to this questioning stage of like, why, would God let that happen and stuff like that. And then you get to kind of this older logic place and stuff, and so you kind of lose your religion, right? And so that's what he was showing in Dogma. And that was the feeling that, and I think that's why Dogma spoke to me so much, is because that was the feeling that I got from that, is here's these angels and they're losing their religion, right? And I very much felt that, and it was very personal to me. And so I would be interested to see, but he did tell us that it'll be hard because George Carlin is gone, because Alan Rickman is gone, and so he has ideas of how he would move forward with that. But I think Mallrats for us, because we're in that age bracket of like the mall was the place to go, right? Mm-hmm. And in fact, for you, the mall was.
I worked at 2 different malls here in San Antonio.
The mall was the place for Vincent to work, and for us to hang out. Sorry.
So it brought stuff very close to home with that movie, and that's the one I'm most looking forward to. And vulgar. No, he didn't talk about vulgar.
That. We don't talk about that.
Too.
He never mentions it, not once. And apparently Tusk is pretty weird, though. That's one of the ones we haven't seen. We've seen a lot of Kevin Smith stuff. We haven't seen Tusk.
And apparently it's about a walrus or something like that.
Yeah, so we're definitely going to look it up after listening to him talk about it, because he's going to do a Tusk too. So he's going to do Mallrats 2. He's going to do Tusk 2. He's going to do another Jay and Silent Bob. He said the studio wants him to do another Red State because of the political climate of what's going on right now. But that was the other thing that I thought was really interesting about what he talked about. And again, maybe I gleaned information from it because this is something that you and I talk about on the show all the time, is talking about the fact that where he goes with his creativity is dependent on who's going to give him the money and the resources to be able to do that. Because it's not like he has $8 million to throw down to make any movie that he wants. And you have to have a studio, and there's things that you have to go through, and there's unions that you have to do in Hollywood that you have to go through. And so he talked to us a lot about, who has the rights for this, and who has the money for this, and who wants this, and who's asking me for this, and who says, well, if you do this thing that I want you to do, then maybe I can find some money in the budget for you to do this other thing that you actually creatively want to do, right? Yeah. And we've tried to tell people this before, is, when you're a producer, a director, or whatever, yes, you're a creative, and yes, you love this process, and yes, you have this story to tell, but it's your job, right? You're going to work, right? And so just like the rest of us have things that we have to go to work, and we have rules that we have to follow, and poor Anakin. So do producers and directors and things like that. And so they have to follow whatever the studios tell them and stuff. So, so that was good to hear him talk about that. And I think
kind of brings you just to like He-Man, because if you look at the stuff that he said, like, a long time ago, he doesn't like He-Man, but he did He-Man. But I think he did a good job doing Masters of the Universe.
Yeah, we enjoyed Masters of the Universe, and I think people, you had told me earlier, well, you thought people wanted it to be He-Man forward, right? And it wasn't He-Man forward, and He-Man wasn't the strongest, and he wasn't the end-all be-all, right? It was more about He-Man's heart and stuff. And so, yeah, again, it just depends on what the studio has told Kevin that they need him to do, what they're looking. And because we're looking for the world to be more female-centered, and because he has a daughter, and we talked about this when we talked about He-Man before, those are some things that kind of moved his decisions forward.
Yeah.
So the other thing that he told us all about that we really liked is he has purchased a movie theater in New Jersey. And he actually lives above the movie theater.
Yeah, there's a little apartment up there.
Yeah, and so he tells these really cute stories about how he's kind of the phantom in the walls, and he'll get a hankering for something in the middle of the night, and he doesn't have it like in his little apartment. And
Apparently,
so
he
he'll go,
really likes Liquid Death.
yeah, because he was drinking one on stage
Yeah.
and he talked about it in the Q&A. And Twizzlers.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So he'll sneak down to the theater and get all the things that he needs. But one of the reasons that he has the theater is he loves movies.
Mm-hmm.
He's a movie guy. Obviously, he loves movies, right? And so he's going to give some of these movies a chance to be out there, and some of these movie makers a chance to come out there with their movies and have their story be told. And one of the ones that he was talking about was Zack Snyder. Because we've talked about this before too. Sorry. When you see the director's cut of Justice League, it's a different movie.
Completely different movie.
So to get these directors to get to come out there and say, here's my version of the film. This is what I meant. To hear those voices so that maybe we can get above all of, because sometimes those of us who are in the geek community, those of us who geek out, our voices are kind of loud and negative, right? And I think that's hard sometimes for directors and producers and stuff to hear that all the time.
And that's the thing. It's difficult to make a movie. I know. We both know it's hard to make a movie, and we only shot a movie for what, 7-minute movie?
I thought it was like 4 minutes.
I think it was 7 minutes.
Oh, I don't know. It was really short. That's
It's
all
really
I know, because
short.
I cut like everything out of it. It was ridiculous.
Yeah.
Yeah. It was awful. It was awful.
And it's difficult to make a movie with the constraints that's placed on you. It doesn't become the same thing that you imagined it to be to begin with.
Yeah, so I think it's really...
Just like when you when you look at Lawnmower Man, the director's cut is completely explains everything that the theatrical release doesn't.
Yeah.
It's a better movie.
Right. And it's because that's their vision and that's what they see and that's what they have. But then they have all these constraints from the theater, and it's like, well, you can't do that. You can't have that. And you got to take that out and you got to move that and stuff like that. So yeah, I'm glad that he's going to open up that venue and make that available so that we can see from the perspective of these producers and directors and actors, like what this movie making experience means to them. And I think it's nice that he's going to have a theater because, he's in our age bracket, so he sees the dying of the light, right?
Yeah.
You know, with streaming services and stuff. And then he said he was even guilty of it, you know. He doesn't really buy movies much anymore. He streams them unless it's like something really, great that he wants, but then he doesn't ever even open it up. It just sits there in his collection, and that's how our collection is. We were just talking about this the other day, so it was interesting to hear him say that, is we buy these DVDs and stuff, but we don't really use them anymore, But we still love to go to
See,
theaters.
but the thing is, our generation is the generation that's adopted technology from the start. We grew up as it changed. And I don't necessarily think it's a bad thing, but we went from DVD to Blu-ray.
We went from VHS to DVD to Blu-ray.
Yeah.
It was
VHS to DVD.
People don't even know
was
how
a
hard it
bigger
was to
jump.
get rid of our VHS, because like the VHS was there, and it was like having a Funko Pop box, right? It was there and in living color, and I still have my Disney VHSs just because of the covers and everything and how epic they look. But yeah, so we went from all of those things to now streaming. I mean, most of what we watch is on streaming. Although we love theaters. You and I are still...
We do.
We are still in that group of people who really loves to go to a theater, unless people are talking. And then Vincent doesn't want to go.
I just like to hear the movie.
I know.
I don't like to miss out on stuff.
So of all Kevin's movies, but don't say vulgar. No, I'm just kidding. Of all Kevin's movies, which one is your favorite?
Vulgar.
No, that one was terrible. It traumatized me.
No, it's a toss-up for me from the original Clerks to Dogma. What happened? You unplugged it? So just use the.
It's okay. It came back. He like kind of sort of unplugged it, but then didn't. So, yeah, I'm good. I can still. Sorry, I'm checking the Stream Deck. The dog like unplugged it a little bit, but then somehow plugged it back in. I don't know what he did. Yeah. So the original Clerks. See, and I think just because that original Clerks still sits with me a little weird. Like I've grown to appreciate it for what it is, but it still sits in the pit of my stomach just a little strangely, I think. But I really loved 2. Like 2 was really great, but it was really great, but it was like some of that over the top, like in your face kind of stuff, like just pushing the envelope almost to see if you could push the envelope. Mm-hmm. So I think the third one for me is the one that's going to become my favorite, Clerks. And then really,
I definitely like it. I definitely do like it better than the second one. I don't hate the second one. I love the second one, but I just think the third one is just that much better.
I don't hate the second one, but the third one is just that much better. And then I actually put Dogma before Clerks. So I would do Dogma, Clerks, and then I forget the name of the Jay and Silent Bob movies, but the one where they, not the one where they're going to, well, no, I guess it is the one where they're going to the movie theater and then they go, like, they get sent to the lab and they save the monkeys or whatever. Mm-hmm. That one, like, really cracks me up. That one's really funny. And then, I don't know, Red State was kind of down on the list for I wasn't really a fan. Mallrats, obviously. Mm-hmm. Chasing Amy, obviously.
It's like a chocolate covered pretzel.
Gross. Mallrats is so gross. Yeah, and all that stuff he does with Jay and Silent Bob.
And we didn't get to see Jason Lee either.
No. Yeah, no. But he'll be in Mallrats, obviously. Yeah. He'll be in Mallrats, and Ben will be in Now, Ben was in Clerks 3 for, like, a little tiny bit.
But Jason was in there for Clerks 2.
Was he in Clerks 2?
I think so.
I don't remember him being in Clerks 2.
He had a cameo.
A little cameo. Probably. Kevin does like to do the cameos. Now, and because this was wrapping up, talk about cameos. You're going to see everybody who was everybody from every film ever. They're all in there. Like, some of them even were in there and I didn't even know who they were. I was like, I knew who they were as actors, but I didn't remember who they were from, like, his previous films. So I was who is that supposed to be?
Oh, and then you get, whatchamacallit, the guys from New Jersey that...
Oh, yeah. The comic guys or whatever. Yeah, I don't remember. They're playing hockey. The other thing that I really liked about this is after Randall goes through what he goes through, and you can see it in the trailer you watched earlier in the show, he's making a movie, and he's making Clerks. He's making the first one. So we get to go... He's actually making the first one and the second one kind of combined, right? Yeah. We get to go down memory lane, and we get to see them as young people. Mm-hmm. And we get to see some scenes, or we get to see scenes that they're playing out now as adults that are scenes from when they were younger. And so it like gets you, kind of catches you in the heartstrings and stuff like that. So I really did think that he did just an excellent job of kind of wrapping this all up for us. Yeah. And really making it great. I was surprised by what he had chosen to do with Rosario Dawson's character, because I wasn't expecting it. And when he's in the Q&A after, he tells you, like, the reason that he has to do this, and then again, this is because it's his grown-up job, right? Yeah. And the reason he has to do this is because they can't afford her. Yeah.
And then she said, well, first she's not a Jedi.
She's a Jedi. But then she's not really a Jedi. And that's a whole nother conversation. He tells us, we know that conversation. But she's expensive. She's Ahsoka now. And she's busy, right? So she can't just be, like, not filming for Disney and Star Wars to come film with Kevin, right? So she does have a little bit of a part in there. And so you will see her. But she's just lovely. And he was saying, like, she's, of all the actors, she's the best actor, obviously, because, like, who's going to believe that she would have sex with Dante, right? And so I'm cracking up. And then the other thing is, if you've watched Clerks, there's one, to me, I don't know if this is the same for you, but to me, there's one quintessential Clerks line. And he uses it in the third film so good that it just kind of breaks you. Like, and you know it's coming, and you know he's going to use it, and it just, like, I was in tears, and I'm, like, trying not to be in tears right now. But the "I'm not even supposed to be here" line.
Yeah.
And so, just listen for it. I don't want to ruin it for you because it'll ruin it for you. But it's a really great line, and it kind of goes through the whole thing, and it's kind of that mantra of the whole series. And he uses it really well in the third movie, and it just kind of ties it together and kind of kills you. So yeah.
In fact, it killed him while he was
when he
watching
was
us
talking
watch
about
it.
Yep, and it made him cry. So yeah, it was funny because he was talking about how emotional he is. Yeah, me too, Kev. Me too. All the time. And maybe that's an older person thing. I don't know. But it definitely, if that's something that you can do and it's something that you enjoy and you can go hear him speak, he is long-winded. He won't answer your question. There won't be any time.
No.
But what he does tell you, when he's up there telling you, it's totally worth hearing.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was totally worth hearing. He's very witty. He's very creative.
Mm-hmm.
He's very narcissistic, but he's very honest with himself about that. And so it was a really great experience that I enjoyed. And so we're looking forward to checking out Tusk and seeing just how weird that is.
Yeah.
And then hopefully seeing some of his sequels that are to come. And we'll probably be watching over the break. We're probably going to be watching some Kevin Smith stuff.
Yeah,
we'll be
that'd
on a
be fun.
Kevin Smith roll.
Vulgar.
Yeah. Don't watch that. Don't
Vulgar.
even. He didn't actually like write that or direct it. He produced it.
He produced it.
But that was Brian
Holloway.
Yeah.
Dante.
Yeah. Yeah. No. Don't watch that one. Don't watch that one.
Definitely watch it. But yeah, that was Kevin Smith in Clerks 3. Definitely go see it. It's a great movie. Definitely have to see it again without all the people cheering.
Electric Dream says, used to love Kevin Smith and all his works, even the less than stellar entries. No longer, though. He went from a passionate creator to corporate shill these last few years. And it's true. And he talks about that. But again, you know, it becomes your job, and that's what you do. You have to do what you have to do in order to get some of your creative stuff out there.
I think he did it with Clerks. He did what he wanted with Clerks.
Mm-hmm. I think so.
It's a great job.
It was a really good job. Go see it. Go see it. Just see Clerks 3. You won't be disappointed. Promise.
Mm-hmm.
Promise. All right.
But thanks for checking us out. Really appreciate it. If you haven't clicked on that subscribe button, click on that subscribe button and hit the notification bell so the next time we go live, you know. But thanks for checking us out. I'm Vince.
I'm Colleen.
Geek Out Essay.